Pat Doris. Welcome to The Story. We're starting today on Northeast 33rd near Marine Drive in Portland because, yeah, we're going to talk about the homeless. But this is a different homeless story than the type you're probably expecting. This one has a happy ending, at least so far. A woman who used to live here was able to get off of this street, and it's in part because of the help of our reporter, Blair Best. Blair joins me now. I know that you've interviewed a lot of the folks here and at other camps. What made a difference with this woman?
Well, I've spent a lot of time on this stretch specifically, and this is one of the largest camps in the area. A lot of people living here have been here for 3 to 5 years. And when I talk with the people out here, I always ask them, how did you end up here and what's stopping you from getting off the streets? And I met this one woman back in July, and there was just something about her, this urgency coming from her that she wanted to get off the streets. She just didn't know how. She just needed help, and she wasn't getting that help. And she just stuck with me ever since.
There's something I'm missing, and I don't know, I can't think of what it is. Oh, my keys. I can't lose my keys. Out here, you just get to the point where you just don't even care.
It's a mindset, one that has slowly worn on 50-year-old Tara Pietromonaco. For nearly 3 years, she's lived in this broken-down trailer on the west side of Northeast 33rd Drive.
You know, you don't have anything to organize your things with. You don't have a stable environment. You don't know if you're going to have to pick up and leave.
That's been Tara's reality since we first met her back in July.
Hey, Cliff! I need your help!
She was stuck in the chaos.
When I don't have gas in my generator, I sleep in my car because of the rats. Hey, Cliff, we need to push this car over there. Whoa!
And pushing to get out.
Okay, go forward.
This lifestyle wasn't her choice. It's something she fell into after leaving prison, where she did time for identity theft.
I've just been having a hard time getting back up on my feet again.
4 months after meeting her, not much had changed.
I think I'm like forgetting something, but I don't know what.
Dozens of people just like Tara, searching for a way off the streets, are getting into transitional housing through the help of outreach workers at Join, a Portland nonprofit.
We meet people where they are, and we're housing first.
A few years ago, Anthony Robertson's team at Join partnered with Kevin Kavanaugh. He runs a real estate company, Guerrilla Development.
We make the buildings that you see around town.
They're also doing something different, building apartment buildings like this one in Southeast Portland, specifically for homeless people.
Living in the city, it's impossible to ignore the homelessness crisis, the affordable housing crisis. So because we make buildings, we are on the front lines of the problem and hopefully the solution too.
The building has 10 rooms. When we were there, only 9 of them were filled. So we told Join about Tara. Tara agreed to meet us.
Do you know Join? Do you know about Join? Have you heard of Join before?
Kind of.
We were talking earlier, maybe there might be an opportunity to help you into a place, into an apartment that you could afford just on your SSI, on your Social Security, while we're working on the subsidized housing thing, which might take a year, could take multiple years, right? But instead of being outside for all that time, for a year, 2 years, we might be able to get you into a place, like a studio apartment kind of situation.
That would be awesome.
We manage an apartment complex that they're kind of SROs a little bit, but it's a cool place.
What's an SRO?
A single room occupancy, so it means you would get like a bedroom, but it's a house where everybody shares like a common kitchen space, and everybody shares like a couple bathrooms and showers.
There's 9 other residents. You would be the 10th resident. It's mixed, male and female. It's primarily women.
Would my boyfriend be able to stay with me too?
Sometimes I can leave you the information. It's all in here, including Elise. Yeah, so it's move-in ready basically. If you want, I could pick you up tomorrow.
That'd be awesome.
Yeah.
And
I just need to have it.
And Tara,
Okay.
no pressure, like, but if you see it, you like it, you can have it, you know, you can move in there.
Yeah, I can give you keys tomorrow.
Cool?
Yeah, all right. Well, I'm gonna leave this with you. okay? If you want to just, there's, you know, put the information into the lease, sign where it says resident, and then when I pick you up tomorrow, so I'll be down here tomorrow around 4:30. Okay. All right? All right, give me a hug. You bet. Okay. We'll get you out of this cold and wind.
Yeah. Awesome, thank you.
Yeah.
And pink?
Yeah,
It's like a fresh start in a lot of ways, Tara, you know? It's like turning the page and getting a fresh start, you know?
Awesome, thank you so much.
Okay,
and,
Tara.
I will see you at 4:30 tomorrow.
It doesn't usually happen that fast.
My heart went out to her. Yeah, I saw somebody who desperately wanted a change in their life and who appeared to be rather stuck in their situation.
It was 4:15 the next day.
Oh, I need that too.
We caught up with Tara before the outreach team arrived.
I've been thinking about it. I'm just like going, am I really going to be getting off the street again?
How's it going?
Going good.
Good. Can I help you move some stuff?
I don't know what to throw in it right now.
Okay.
I'm just overwhelmed a little bit.
Yeah. Be ready for a lot of transition to happen. There's going to be a lot of emotions. Okay, I'm following you out.
But something was holding her back.
Hey, bro, I'm not leaving you.
Tara's brother is also homeless.
I'll be back, bro. I promise I'll be back.
We ready to go?
Yeah.
Okay. I'm in the black Jeep right there.
30 minutes away was a warm bed and the stability she'd been searching for.
Hey, Tara.
Hi.
How you doing?
All right.
You excited?
Yeah, a little overwhelmed.
I'm excited for you to like sleep in a new place, you know?
Yeah. 400 miles without getting putting gas in.
Shira, this is Tara. We're going upstairs. That's the key. Room 10. What do you think?
It's warm.
Yeah.
like it's nice.
So here's the bedding.
One thing I'm gonna have to try to get used to.
It's quiet.
Yeah.
A silence almost deafening compared to the cacophony of the streets and the world she left behind.
So you got your key.
Tara had a lot of keys,
I'll stick it on here that way I don't lose it.
but she made room
That's great.
for one more.
It's just gonna be a little bit of adjustment.
Wow, well, certainly a promising beginning. How to go from there?
So that same night that she moved in, she actually came back to her campsite here to check on her brother, who you saw in the story. A lot of times out here, things are pulling people from staying into housing, whether it be addiction or family or community that they have on the streets. And she was a prime example where she had a brother who she didn't want to leave.
Mm-hmm. And that's a big fear,
yeah.
that people get a little taste of housing and they're like,
It
no,
is.
I want to get back out.
It's such a dramatic change.
Yeah.
She's been here for 3 years,
Wow.
right? To now go into that small, heated, nice room, it's not as easy as you would think.
Mm-hmm. And it happened very quickly. Well, before we get on to that, she did come out here, but then she's back in her housing, right?
Yeah, so I was told she came back that same night and she stayed out here for 2 more nights and then came back on a Monday. And she's been there ever since. We actually went and checked on her 2 nights ago and she was there.
Very promising.
Yeah.
How did this happen so quickly?
Yeah, so this is kind of rare. It doesn't normally happen this fast. Sometimes caseworkers have to go back to these camps sometimes 10 times to gain trust, build a relationship with these people, so they ultimately, decide to trust them and go with them into housing. And I think in part that it was so quick was because I had already been making that relationship with Tara since July. I'd been checking in on her, I'd been talking with her. So I think that relationship piece was sped up a little, but there's also the factor of availability for affordable housing. That room was open and ready for her to move in, and that doesn't always happen. It was just the timing really aligned.
Yeah, it was unique. And,
Yeah.
But both you were ready, you had her in your mind, and she was ready to make a difference, which none of this would have happened if she wasn't ready.
Right, she was very ready, and it was, the season was changing. You saw in the story that the wind was blowing, it was getting colder. She was at the point where I don't want to do another winter out here. I'm done. And I'm just so grateful we could help her get to that point.
Yeah, what's this been like for you?
Yeah, this has been really an emotional, meaningful process for me. I've never done anything like this before, right? We report on these problems all the time and the crisis, but we never really get to follow through a solution to the very end. At least I haven't. And she's stuck with me, like I said, since July. And I am so grateful for the relationship that we have and her trust in me. And I'm also grateful for Join, for their willingness to welcome me on this process and ultimately make a difference. I know it's just one person off the streets, but when I repeat and go back to her and interview her, it's like that's a problem. The fact that I can keep coming out here and know that I can talk to Tara, right?
Yeah.
So through my work, if I can actually make a difference and get her off the streets, that's ultimately why we do this, right?
You can't help them all, but you definitely helped her. Well done.
Thanks.
Nice going. And we'd love to hear your thoughts about Blair's story. Send an email to thestory@kgw.com or give us a phone call, 503-226-5090. One thing that makes our show unique is what I just did. We ask for your thoughts and opinions about things, and you are not shy about sharing. That was certainly the case last night and still again today. Your comments are still coming in today after our story about Governor Brown reducing the sentences for 17 inmates on death row. Those prisoners now face life in prison without parole. Oregon has not used the death penalty, by the way, since 1997. A few of you called and said you couldn't believe that the governor released these prisoners. So let's just be clear. Nobody got released. They are still definitely in prison, and they will be in prison for the rest of their lives. The only change now is they avoid the potential threat of lethal injection. Anyway, much of your feedback was mixed, mostly split right down the middle.
This is Judy, and my feeling used to be I wanted a death sentence. I do feel now that I'd like to see them suffer their whole lifetime. But I didn't realize how much it costs us for their appeals. Now, I'm very much for the death sentence. Very much. Death sentence is the only thing. If they take a life, they should not have a life. Thanks for this opportunity.
I say put them in jail and throw away the key. The death penalty makes no sense. It's time to move on. Thank you.
I think that the governor should not have done away with the death penalty for those on death row. If she felt strongly about it, why didn't she do it a long time ago when she was in office? And to do that, it's just apparent that she wanted to avoid any political effects from that, and I disagree with her decision at the 11th hour of her term as governor.
Hi, my name is Maria, and I want to make a comment about the death sentence deal that Kate Brown has changed, and I agree with her. I really do. I think the death sentence is just stupid, and it's not right, and it should be taken away. All right, that's my thoughts. Thank you.
Thanks to everybody who's sharing your thoughts. A few of your comments mentioned rights, and today the state does have the right technically to put someone to death. That's because of the will of the voters who reinstated capital punishment way back in 1984 through a ballot measure. It was called Ballot Measure 6. It won by 55% of the vote. And several others of you said the governor does not have the right to do something like this because the voters approved the use of the death penalty.
Yeah, I'll make it short. This is Carlson. Yeah, I don't think the state has the right to commit murder against anybody. So I'm opposed to the death penalty. Thanks.
I live in Sweet Home, Oregon, and I have a comment on the commuting of the death sentence by the governor. You know, all the other arguments and information aside, the governor should not have the right to impose her opinions on the people of Oregon. The people of Oregon voted to have the death penalty. She does not have the right to just use her own power to dissolve it.
I hear you, Gary, and a lot of folks out there feel exactly the same way you do. But in fact, the governor does have the right to commute any sentence she wants, any state charge except for one, treason. And her right to commute sentences other than treason comes from the Oregon Constitution, specifically Article 5, Section 14. Here's how it reads right now, with the word he referring to the governor. And yeah, we agree. Someone should probably go through and update the pronouns in Article 5. Okay, at any rate, here's what it states. Reprieves, commutations, and pardons, remissions of fines and forfeitures. He shall have the power to grant reprieves, commutations, and pardons after conviction for all offenses except treason, subject to such regulations as may be provided by law. So whether or not you think the governor should have commuted the death sentences of those 17 inmates, she definitely was well within her state constitutional right to do so. Also in our mailbox last night, our voicemail, someone who was previously involved with the criminal justice system.
I'm a retired circuit court judge. I tried 4 murder cases when I was on the bench. One of those was a death penalty case. I favor the death penalty. Thank you.
And we even had a note from someone directly affected by the death penalty who shared their thoughts about it. Aaron wrote to us, "We had a family member murdered when I was a kid in Texas. The murderer received the death penalty and the family was frustrated that her killer would get an easy out. Not that the electric chair is an easy way to go. Nevertheless, I've never understood thinking you're getting some great vengeance when the person gets to check out early." And that is just scratching the surface of all of your feedback from yesterday. So keep it coming. We love reading your emails and listening to your voicemails. What do you think about some of what we've just shared with you? Any of this feedback change your mind? Let us know. Send us an email to thestory@kgw.com or call and leave a voicemail, 503-226-5090. Still to come on The Story. The professionals who were paid to keep us safe appearing in a united front amid a record year of murder and violence in Portland.
It's important for us today to stand together and say we continue to work together.
But is anything changing about their approach? Or should citizens just expect more of the same? More on that, and also it appears the wheels are turning to potentially bring officers back to Portland Public Schools. Details when The Story returns. As we head toward the end of the year, the folks who are responsible for keeping all of us safe in the greater Portland area Well, they came together in a bit of a strange news conference yesterday. They wanted to let you know that despite an out-of-control homeless problem and record high number of murders in the greater Portland area and rampant shoplifting and drug use everywhere, and I guess a bunch of other issues that I'm not really even thinking of at the time. Despite all of that, you should know they are working together. Watch this and see if you can spot the key word of the day in their comments.
There's a lesser told story. Over the last 2 years, this has been a story of resilience and collaboration. And behind me today, my chief deputy district attorneys and law enforcement from across this community who stand here working together shoulder to shoulder on the challenges that we face.
All of the partners here today are working tirelessly to collaborate and to strengthen our public safety system.
There has been more collaboration across our organization than ever before between our community-based organizations, and equally important, the collaboration between all of the partners you see behind me today.
It's important for us today to stand together and say we continue to work together collaboratively in a unified effort as much as we can with the resources that we have.
Gresham has collaborated with the Portland Police Bureau, the Multnomah County Sheriff's Office on regular, multi-agency enhanced safety patrol missions.
Yeah, it was a big day for that word, collaboration. It's almost like they were given the same talking point. What do you think? And I am poking him a little bit, but honestly, there was no new initiative announced there. No new plan on how to slow or stop the shootings. Just that reassuring news that they are working together. In my opinion, here's something else to consider. If you need to call a news conference to tell the public that you're working together, you might have a bigger problem than you think. The public should know that you're working together. We expect you to work together. And if you have to say it, that's a problem, because we should be seeing you working together regularly in public settings where you're talking about how you're working with each other more than just yesterday. That's my 2-second rant on that. We can move along. There was a bit of news, a tiny bit of news that came out of that gathering, but only during reporter questions. And the news is this. More than 2 years after banning police from the Portland area public schools, leaders are now starting to think maybe that was not such a great idea.
First of all, there are discussions taking place between PPB and the school districts, and we are working with the school districts on a solution. You'll recall that we had the school resource officers, and interestingly enough, Chief Lavelle served for many years as a school resource officer. In 2000, we were asked by the school districts, or some of the school districts, to pull those officers back. At the time, I thought that would be a mistake.
A slight correction there. We know that the mayor meant to say 2020 instead of 2000. 2020 was during the social justice movement here and around the country. And if the mayor had concerns, he certainly kept them to himself. Here's a comment from him back in June of 2020, talking about pulling those officers out of the schools.
First of all, our community's spoken. And they've said quite clearly it's time to redirect dollars that would otherwise go towards putting officers in schools to programs that help our Black children to grow and thrive. And I made a commitment to listen and to act.
Not exactly a warning that the public was a bad idea. Portland Public School Superintendent also announced the move during a tweet that same week back in 2020, and Portland City Commissioner Joanne Hardesty also pushed hard for it. On June 3rd of 2020, she tweeted this message: "I'm asking you to join me in removing the gun violence reduction team, school resource officers, transit police." Then on June 8th, she tweeted that she would be introducing a series of amendments, including those same 3 items. And then in September, she issued a tweet reading, "We eliminated student resource officers that enforced the school to prison pipeline as students have asked for years." But with the recent shooting of a student outside of Cleveland High School, it appears the general opinions may have changed. It's clear at least that some are beginning to think that maybe it would be handy to have police nearby to help keep students safe. Here's Portland Police Chief Chuck Lavelle, who, as the mayor pointed out, used to be one of those school resource officers himself.
It's very near and dear to my heart to keep our kids safe in the school setting. I have had some discussions with PPS around what we could do to keep children safe in the short term, but they're also probably longer-term conversations that we've just started around what a return to schools might look like.
That would be a big deal. We'll keep an eye on it and let you know how the plan develops. Still to come on the story. The machine recount in Clark County began today for the 3rd Congressional District. That's the race between Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez and Republican Joe Kent. We'll explain what exactly the election workers are looking for and if there's even a chance that Kent could flip the outcome of the race when the story returns. Today in Clark County, the machine recount of Washington's 3rd Congressional District race began. That race pitted Democrat Marie Gluesenkamp-Perez against Republican Joe Kent. Now, this recount will affect all 7 counties that make up the 3rd Congressional District, so each of the counties are going to have to do this. Clark County is just the most populated, therefore it has the most to get through. And it's all because Joe Kent's campaign requested a machine recount and will have to pay nearly $49,000 to make it all happen. A machine recount is only an audit of the undervotes. That happens when a voter does not make any choice in that specific race. What the folks in Clark County are doing is checking each undervote ballot to make sure the machine did not miss an actual vote for one of the 3rd District candidates. In Clark County alone, they have about 2,400 undervotes for the 3rd Congressional District race that they have to get through. And when our crew was there today, we noticed that there were quite a few people in there watching this happen. So we asked the county auditor, who's here and why?
There are 3 stations, so we have where we're examining those undervoted ballots. So we have two county employees, 2 elections office employees at each station who are pulling up the ballots, pulling up the batch. So ballots get scanned in batches, and then in those batches we've identified what ballots have the undervotes. So they're pulling up the batches, then they're pulling the ballot out of the batch, then they're looking at the ballot, and then looking at the that exact race to see if it was properly recorded as an undervote. And so those 2 people are at each of those 3 stations, and then we have 1 observer from each of the 2 campaigns, 1 observer from the Kent campaign, 1 observer from the Perez campaign at each of those stations. And then in Clark County, we have 3 organizations that provide certified election observers: the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the League of Women Voters. And we're allowing 1 representative of each of those organizations to also be in that room.
That's interesting. I didn't know that. After all the counting is complete, the Clark County Canvassing Board will meet next Tuesday afternoon to certify any changes in the vote totals. And for those of you hoping the outcome of the race will change, not likely. Kent would need more than 2,600 votes, and in Clark County alone, there's about 2,400 undervotes. So the likelihood of him getting all of those, plus another 200 from the surrounding counties in the district, it's about as slim gets. All right, keep sending your questions and comments to the story at KGW.com. We're going to wrap things up right after this. That's the end of our show. Thanks so much for watching. And remember, the story, our story, well, that never ends. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is